You're listening to Dark Side LA. This podcast is not just for Lost Angelinos, but it definitely isn't for the faint of heart. Enjoy.
Took you a while. What the fuck, dude? Anyways, this is our third episode, and hope you like it. We're getting into the swing of things, so we don't have everything dialed in yet, but we're getting there. Freddie.
Yes, April.
I know we talked about the Comedy Store, but I don't think I asked you if you believe in ghosts.
Wow. Okay, if you would ask me this several years ago, before I met you, I would be 100% on the fence, and even more so, maybe I don't believe. But I had always believed a little bit because I know I was scared. So if I could be scared, there has to be some belief, right?
So you weren't in disbelief. You were scared. That's what you were.
You know, I had less knowledge base about it and experience and everything like that. Growing up, I never really, my friends and my family, we never talked about spirits and ghosts and things like that. But since I've met you, my dad's told me about things, and we've experienced things, and we're talking to people that have experienced things, and I can't deny it. So I've never experienced anything per se that I know of, but I think I'm a believer.
That's better than a non-believer, right? Well, you were just scared. But
I think I was so scared that
skeptical,
I was
but also
trying to not believe.
You're in denial. You're like, no, ghosts aren't real.
Yeah.
But you're still afraid of the dark.
No, I'm not afraid of the dark anymore. I was when I was a kid. Oh gosh, I was.
Well, I'm just saying that's just like an example. Okay. So you're more open-minded to ghosts now.
Absolutely.
How about ghosts that attack people? This is getting somewhere. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing. You know, like seeing something. Okay, like people can have a heart attack seeing something scary, and not even feeling it or doing. They never had a physical interaction. It was just an image, right? People can have a heart attack or stroke from an image.
Yeah.
And that's already scary enough. But what if a ghost can manipulate matter and bend steel or throw a sock, or what if they pushed on somebody's heart valve? Scary.
Or what if they molested you? Would you believe that? What if I told you? I didn't mean to laugh at that. I'm just talking to Freddie here, and
that's
I'm just
scary.
that's because saying it, I felt a little uncomfortable, so I kind of giggled. I was like, yeah,
I know, I get it. It's a nervous thing,
laughter.
Yeah, no, that's the worst. Being having an SA and a scary image and the scary feeling and everything. Oh my God, that's the worst.
Okay. What if I told you that in 1974, here in Los Angeles, Culver City, a woman was assaulted by 3 ghosts?
3 ghosts. Nowadays, that is so crazy. I don't want to believe it, but I can't deny the presence of ghosts and spirits now. And I feel like they can do things. So,
You scared my dog when you did that. It's take your doggy to work day, okay? All right. Welcome to Dark Side LA. I'm your host, April Bay, and with my co-host, Freddie.
Hi.
Insert music here. Okay, so today's story, we go back to 1970 when a woman moves into her Culver City house with her 3 sons and her 1 daughter. Soon, she starts experiencing scary and brutal attacks inside of her home. However, the attacks were done by an invisible force. This is the story of Doris Bither.
Oh my gosh, an invisible force.
Yeah. Okay, so before I begin with the story, I'd like to give a fair warning. This is a paranormal case that has sexually explicit descriptions. So listeners, viewers, discretion, strongly advised.
Okay, so you said invisible force? Like what kind of invisible force?
You're late. Like an entity, a poltergeist, which actually, in fact, there's a movie based on this case. They decided to do a movie about it because it was like so known back then, and all this crazy stuff was happening to this lady. So they're like, we gotta make a movie. First they turned it into a book, and then they turned it into a movie. So the movie is called The Entity.
I think I've heard of that, really.
Yeah, I've watched it like a million times. It's insane, you guys. Don't watch it alone. Definitely don't watch it in the dark alone. So that's my tip for you. All right. So, yeah. Viewers' discretion strongly advised. And, okay. So, let's begin with the story. Doris Bither's ghostly assault claims are a series of ghostly events to have been experienced by Doris, her family, and the investigators. In the early 1970s, Doris and her 3 sons and daughter moved into a home in Culver City. Culver City is a suburb of Los Angeles in the state of California, obviously. Her older son, 16 years of age, another boy being 13, and the youngest son being 10, along with a preteen daughter. Shortly after they moved into this yellow 1-story home that has been twice condemned by the city.
Twice condemned.
So what does that mean? Like they're not allowed to be living in there? Or it's just frowned upon by the city? What does that mean?
Well, probably what happened is that it was in bad condition and then it was condemned and then somebody bought it or the owner fixed it up and then it went back to its bad condition and then it was condemned again.
Alrighty. Okay. So it was twice condemned by the city, which I'm like, okay, maybe she got it for cheap. That's why she moved in, or maybe she didn't have a lot of options.
I'm sure she's going to get
she's
a
a single
discount.
woman, a single mom. Okay, so one night, a woman knocked on the front door and told Doris she used to live in that house. Doris was like, oh, wow, that's awesome. I mean, what do you say, really? And it got pretty quiet after that, so it was just Doris and this woman at her doorstep staring at each other in complete silence, which is just really weird. And as if it couldn't get any more awkward, the lady said that the house was evil and that Doris would soon find out for herself. Then the lady walked away.
What?
So she shows up like in the middle of the night. She's like, no welcome basket. No, like, she's just like, I lived in this house. And it's
was
evil.
that a warning or was that like a taunt or what was that?
I don't know. It would really freak me out.
Oh, yeah. This house is evil. Oh, what?
I don't know what I would do, actually, now that I think about it. Now's not the time to think about it, but anyways. Okay, so Doris was totally freaked out. Her and her family just moved in, and instead of something like a welcome basket or a cake, there's this strange woman that comes to her door at night and tells her some really dark stuff about her home. That's unsettling. Doris just shut the door and called it a night. She didn't feel the need to tell her children. She didn't want to freak them out or anything like that. So
that's probably smart, but then
I mean,
also,
I don't know.
Having everybody on the same page is really
that's probably what I would do. I would probably get everybody on the same page. I would at least tell my children, like, hey, if you see anyone weird, there's this lady who just knocked at the door and then, I opened it and she said some stuff I didn't really remember. At least say something like that. And then she just left.
Oof. Yeah. At least, tell the older kids and, something to the younger ones. But
be on the lookout for some crazy woman. Okay. So late one night, a couple days after that incident, Doris was asleep. Her lamp was going on and off. She was half awake, half asleep. And so she kind of noticed in her peripheral, maybe. Doris raised her head to see what was happening. Then all of a sudden, something pushed her off of the bed and sexually violated her. Then it disappeared.
Oh my God.
Doris, shooken up, surprisingly was still able to go back to bed. Oh my gosh.
How do you go back to bed
I don't
after
know. But I've had panic attacks in the middle of the night where I thought I was going to die. And then I was just so tired, I went back to sleep. So that could be the case for her. I don't know. That's a new one, though.
That's a tough situation.
I don't even want to think about it. Okay, so it just disappears. And she was shooken up, but went back to bed eventually. Apparently, this went on for weeks. It's unknown whether she told her children about the incident, but I'm assuming she did. So frustrated and confused and scared as one would be, she looked for answers. I don't know what the hell I would do.
I mean, obviously you would be, somebody would be looking for answers, right? But who do you even talk to about this?
I would tell my family. Definitely. I would have to. I just can't leave that out.
And that scary lady, she didn't leave her phone number or something.
If the ghost or the spirit was very violent, you have to tell your children. You have to tell your family. Just to be on the lookout. Actually, I would find a way to not sleep there anymore. To not live there. I'd want to move.
She's
Period.
been violated so many times for weeks. That's ridiculous.
I really see this is when honesty really comes into when you're honest about stuff like that. Like, for example, if she told her children from day one what happened, then they would understand. They'd be like, okay, so now all this stuff's happening. This malevolent force is molesting their mother or whatever force it is. And then now, they're in the know. Versus now she has to tell them, well, okay, this is happening. And it all started when this woman came by the house one night. I don't know. It's
a tough conversation.
It's really hard.
Either way, but
it's weird.
Yeah.
How do these kids how would they even comprehend that? I don't know where to
they could just
store that.
Say, it's attacking me, it's attacking her.
Yeah. She doesn't have to get into the gritty details.
Oh my gosh.
So it was reported that Doris started experimenting with a Ouija board. That's the last thing you do. Okay, it was reported that Doris started experimenting with a Ouija board and held seances and would later mix this activity with drugs and alcohol. What?
Oh my
No.
gosh.
It is apparent she was battling personal demons and may have been not only self-medicating but searching for answers from the spirit world.
Okay, you know what?
I get it a little.
It's hard, such a hard situation. She doesn't even know what to do. From us, 2020.
In retrospect.
We look at it from a distance, we feel like we know what we would do. But wow, somebody in that situation, who knows? But
yeah, I don't know. See, for me, instantly, if you tell me that, you didn't know how to cope with a malevolent force in your household, in your home, and then you're doing drugs and alcohol to cope with it, and you're holding seances and experimenting with a Ouija board, I'd say those are all the wrong things. Because that's going to, that's bringing the spirit. They're feeding off that energy. I say you're bringing more spirits, you're manifesting, you're conjuring up more spirits.
You're absolutely right.
Doris also went to a local bookstore where she found herself in the occult section. So the occult section is kind of like the paranormal section, and sprinkled in there maybe novelty, religious practices, books, stuff like that.
Okay.
So as she was looking for anything that she could find that had to do with the paranormal and what she experienced, which is how do you find that, right? Like, how do you even find that? She came across two men. They were parapsychologists, students from UCLA. The men were Dr. Barry Taff and Dr. Carrie Gaynor, both students studying parapsychology at UCLA. So they were actually, they talked about Barry Taff and Carrie Gaynor. We talked about them in our previous episode, The Comedy Store. So check that out if you missed it. Comedy Store, haunted, by the way. Anyways, Doris introduced herself and had told the parapsychologist that she was experiencing ghostly encounters at her home. Doris claimed that spirits would physically attack her. The reports ranged from Doris walking around her home and bumping into the ghost to actual spectral sexual assault. So I don't know what I would do. I would be nervous. Like right now, I'm laughing because I'm nervous, okay?
I mean, you know, the whole bumping into a ghost is already like what are you talking about? But then that whole she's getting SA by the ghost. Whoa.
Yeah, it's like, what do you say? If a friend told me that, I wouldn't even know what to say. I'd hug her or him, you know? I wouldn't know what to say. So they were skeptical. Ghost apparitions are a hard thing to prove and collect evidence for from a scientific perspective, and ghostly sexual assault is even harder to believe, I'd say.
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah. She even showed them bruises from her inner thigh that apparently she got during the attacks. So Doris, I mean, if you're getting bruises at this point, move out before things get worse. I don't know. I know it's easier said than done, but stay with a friend. I don't know. Let the media know. Maybe raise enough money so that people can get you a hotel room for the week or month.
Yeah, talking about this is probably... See, she probably thinks that people are going to think she's crazy.
Okay? Yeah, I would...
If she doesn't talk about it, she's not going to get help.
I would think people would think I'm crazy too. Doris claimed that the ghosts were of Asian men. Oh. And that her children also saw these beings. That's scary. Wow. The visions were so frequent that, not scary that they were Asian men, but that her children also saw these things. The visions were so frequent that the children dubbed one of them, the more prominent ghost, as Mr. Who's It.
Mr. Who's It?
I don't know what that means. I'm so confused. Doris also mentioned that two of the beings were the smallest ones and would hold her down, while the biggest or tallest one would assault her. Fuck. I don't like that.
That is bananas.
I'm a woman and or even if you're a man, this was happening.
Yeah.
Jeez.
No, that's not good.
I feel so terrible for her family, especially the children. Like, they're seeing this. Doris' eldest son would admit to seeing his mother. Doris' eldest son. Is it eldest or oldest son?
Either way. I like oldest.
The oldest son would admit to seeing his mother being tossed around the room. In one instance, he tried to intervene and was thrown across the room by the unseen force.
Assaults, and then
it's getting out of hand at this point, lady.
Kids.
We gotta, get out of Dodge, man. Okay. While Barry initially dismissed Doris' claims as being related to mental illness, eventually he and his associate conducted a preliminary investigation in her home. So not a real full-on investigation. It was sort of just like a consult. They're just like, let's not pour all of our time and energy and equipment into this woman. Let's just...
They're like,
it sounds wacky.
We'll come over and, spend a couple hours taking a look and see what's up.
Yeah. It's worth looking into. On August 22nd, 1974... Oh, is it August 22nd right now? No. On August 22nd, 1974, Barry and Carrie visited the Doris residence to interview her and to gather more information for their research. When the investigators arrived at her home, they noticed it was in horrible condition. Barry Taff, the investigator, later on came to say that the home was twice condemned, which we know because we know.
Right.
We know. But Barry and Gary were not yet fully convinced. However, they didn't mention to Doris that they were still skeptical about her story. So about a week later, the investigators received a call from Doris. This particular phone call was not any usual phone call that they would get. Doris Bither had phoned them in duress and was very frantic and requested they come to her home stat. So on a very hot August day in Southern California, when Barry and Carrie returned to the house, they noticed a crowd of people from the neighborhood just standing outside of Doris's home. And the neighbors introduced themselves. They also reported to the two men, to Barry and Carrie, that they themselves have been experiencing paranormal occurrences in their homes. They also mentioned that there had been a very vile smell emitting from Doris's house. Dang, that must be stinky if your neighbors are smelling it.
Right? They're like across the street, down the street, and they can
And you were
smell it.
living in there?
Oh,
I don't know, I'm getting like just images of Dahmer right now.
oh.
Imagine the funk that he was living.
Well, see,
is.
that's a different
Just that
situation.
craziness.
He's like just chopping up.
Oh, he's just like
bodies.
used to it.
Yeah, and they're like, fermenting in there. But in this case, it's like I've heard of this. Spirits and ghosts can kind of have like an odor.
Yeah, they have an odor. People from the crowd described it to be like a rotting animal smell. Ugh.
Oh, so gross.
The investigators felt very overwhelmed with the people and their reports, so they very politely excused themselves. They're like, okay, well, sorry about that. And they enter Doris's house to see if they can get to the bottom of that whole situation.
They're like, she's got the neighbors on board.
I know. They're just like, she paid them off. I don't know.
Well, some healthy
You gotta be
skepticism is important,
skeptical.
but
Yeah.
Can't also dismiss.
Couldn't they
people's-
smell it themselves? Okay, we'll get into that. Upon entering Doris's house, they noticed two strange things. The house smelled of rotting flesh. Okay. Good. No, not good.
Well,
Good that they witnessed it.
yes, there's another.
Not
witness.
good. Never good that you smell that at your home.
Yes.
And they also noticed that the home was ice cold, even though the house didn't have any air conditioning. And it was a hot August day. Based on the incidents experienced in her home and reports from her neighbors, the team decided to set up shop and brought in high-speed cameras and photographers, as well as other investigators to help capture something on tape. Hallelujah.
Right.
Thank you, good. Finally.
Well, sometimes they got to have some kind of empirical evidence to, spend more time and effort.
I
into
just be
that.
so glad and thankful that there's more people at the home. Maybe they could find something and they could just scare the spirits away
Yes.
until they leave and the spirits come back, which
I know. That's that other thing I was saying. Like spirits, when there's too many people there, spirits get shy and they just, they don't show up.
yeah, my dad always told me that when you go on vacation for a long period of time, you should leave the TV on or something on because spirits hate noise.
Oh, they kind of, yes.
Is that,
they'll like,
do your parents tell you stuff like that?
they'll like post up shop if it's quiet.
Yeah. So during their time conducting research for a period of 10 weeks, they witnessed many strange poltergeist type events. One in particular, when they were cramped inside of Doris's bedroom and anxious to see any paranormal activities, they decided to have Doris conjure up the beings by having her call them. Doris began swearing and yelling at the spirits while 30 or so investigators were crammed in her room with her.
30
Okay,
investigators.
you got to look up the square footage on her home right now because from what I remember, it was only like 1,200 square feet.
Any normal
30?
like,
How do
place,
I fit 30?
like the average place in Los Angeles, like probably, I'm gonna guess this is like kind of a lower income area. It's been condemned twice, so 30 people. That's gonna be like sardines in there.
Oh, it
There's no
smelled like
chance of the
sardines.
ghost coming if there's 30 people in there.
I know. Their odds are just Oh my gosh, that's just dumb. Okay, there were corpuscular balls of light.
Excuse me?
Corpuscular balls?
Gotcha.
What do you think I said?
I don't know. I don't know what
There were
corpuscular is.
corpuscular balls of light. I don't even know what that is. I'm assuming they're
Like
round.
orbs?
Yeah, orbs flying around the bedroom. At one point, the lights in the bedroom came together and formed the upper torso of a man. Goodness gracious. I would faint.
Yeah.
They all came to the conclusion that it was a male entity. Well, duh, he's R-wording her. He entered in her. The encounter was so strong and vivid that an investigator soon fainted after seeing the apparition. I told you, there's fainting involved. I would faint myself.
I hear that.
They were also joined by a friend of Doris named Candy, who claimed to be psychic and occasionally screamed out that there was something in the corner. Sorry. Even though nobody really saw anything. She's like, it's right there! It's right there!
Oh my god. It's just crazy.
I mean, she's doing it for attention. Don't listen to her. So it's unknown if she was a credible person in this case, but regardless, from time to time, they still would witness lights in circles coming in and out. Jeez, that's.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. There's 30 people in here. They're trying to witness this. They need to have less people in there and have some recording devices, maybe. But I told you, like earlier, when there's a lot of people and there's cameras, ghosts are so shy. I mean, that's what it just seems like. You know, when everybody has all this equipment, but these ghosts seem pretty brazen, so who knows?
Yeah. However, no matter how many high-speed cameras were set up to capture this, none of this ever came out on film. Surprise, surprise. The pictures right there only shows what appears to be a free-floating arc light in the middle of the room, as well as some light orbs. We'll pull up that photo. Can you pull up the Doris Bither photos, please? Doris Bither. So it's her last name is spelled Bither, Bither. Doris Bither. Ghost photos, entity photos, whatever. I feel horrible for this woman, by the way.
Yeah, that does not sound like a good way to live.
There it is. That's the famous entity photo.
So that's a real photo, huh?
Yeah, that's the photo. The most famous photograph from the case is the one that shows Doris sitting on a bed, investigators surrounding her, and the free-floating arc of light in the middle of the picture. What's fascinating is that the arc of light appears smooth, even though this is a room with corners, and one would expect bends in the arc as when someone uses a projector to display an image, right?
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like if you use a
yeah.
projector, you point at that corner, it's gonna kind of have like that crease, that like bend. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
And the image hits corners in a room, right? The image will bend. The photograph evidence produced by the team shows that the arc of light floating above Doris has no bends. I don't know if you guys can see that. Even though behind it, we see the room's corner.
Oh, it's perfectly square.
Yep. You see it?
Yeah, but the arc is.
What? Can you explain how that could happen?
I cannot. There's a ghost in there. I
I don't know. There's a ghost.
I do not know how to explain that. Like, Photoshop nowadays, but that's
Well, no,
from
back then in the
day.
70s?
Yeah, no,
I don't know about that.
no. That's a ghost caught on film.
Another photo is of Doris, which was taken a night after the previously mentioned picture, at a time when the entity was supposedly no longer present. A scratch across the last photo, presumably caused when it was ejected from the camera. Ejected, sorry. Gives it a haunting quality that only adds to the mystery. The fact that Doris's eyes are closed creates even more distance and even detachment between her and the viewer. I see it right there. Do you see it? It's the only kind of colored one. Yeah. You see it?
Yeah.
Pretty freaky, dude. Oh, that is haunting. So another thing that they noticed was that the entity and incidents would intensify when the oldest son would play Black Sabbath or AC/DC. It either seemed to upset the poltergeist or it gave it more energy. I'd say it gave it more energy.
Oh wow, yeah.
I feel like these entities, these spirits, they live or thrive or are fed by whatever energy that person has. You know what I mean? They feed off that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people also noted that when they asked her son to play the songs, which in fact triggered the lights and orbs to appear before them, it would be more consistent. So when he played that, the lights, oh my gosh, that's just gnarly. So crazy.
Oh.
They're like having a concert.
Well, you know, like music puts people in certain moods. You know, like it basically gives people energy. You know, a certain positive or negative energy, or just giving energy.
Yeah, it wasn't until later into the research that the investigators observed that Doris was a heavy drinker. They asked her why she didn't mention to them that she somewhat had a drinking problem. She said that she was afraid to because then they wouldn't believe her. Yeah, they would just call her like an alcoholic. And however, they also observed that when she stopped drinking, the phenomena also lessened a bit.
Oh wow.
Stop drinking? I don't know. I would just stop drinking maybe.
You know, people altering their state of mind I heard that they can open doors or like just be able to like experience or see things differently.
I gave up drinking, but I have a lot of friends who still drink and friends who gave up drinking but used to drink a lot then, and they have a lot of horror stories. Like, I'm actually going to mention my friend Jovi right now. Jovi, if you're listening, hey. She used to be a hardcore drinker and partier, and she's also a musician. She's in a band. And one night after a show, she like came home like totally plastered, and she fell asleep on her bed. And then she said she woke up, and she for sure knew she was awake. Like, I don't know how she proved it to herself, but she knew. She's like, I was awake, April, okay? And there was something underneath my blanket, like sitting up in bed, sitting in bed.
Scary.
And it was underneath my blanket. And she said when she pulled the covers off that it was a demon.
Oh my God.
Fuck, dude. And then I was just like, no way. She's like, no. She was very serious. And she's kind of a skeptic herself, though. She said after that she stopped drinking, and that never happened again. So.
Yeah. If drinking is the cause of that, that's an easy fix.
Yeah. Yeah, so they noticed that when she stopped drinking, when Doris stopped drinking, that the entity would lessen. Okay, what does that tell you? Alcohol is bad, kids.
Drugs are bad. Alcohol's bad. And I think these demons or these ghosts, spirits, they kind of like pick on people that have maybe potentially, okay, I can't say that all spirits are bad, you know, like, but some potentially will pick on people that are, their defenses are down, or they're like somehow weakened.
Yeah. Nonetheless, the investigators were still a bit shooken up. They hadn't experienced a haunting quite like Doris's. Another frightful incident that was a witness to the whole team was when everyone was just enjoying a cup of coffee around the kitchen table when out of nowhere, the cabinet door swung wide open really fast. Everyone turned to see what the hell that was. And before they knew it, a frying pan came flying out of the cabinet.
Oh, shit.
Almost hitting one of the investigators. Fuck that. I would be out.
Well, yes, normal people would definitely be out, and, you know, a lot of even ghost hunters would probably be out, but, like, that is evidence right there. That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't.
Well, you know, when you have a family, when, you know, it's like, it's crazy. You know, like, sometimes these things are, hopefully these ghost hunters are all, like, you know,
maybe
single, strong people.
Maybe they're scaring the ghosts away. they're doing us some good. They're helping.
Well,
They're
then
helping
she's
society.
Yeah, they're scaring. But those ghost hunters are going to have to be everywhere, or these people that aren't.
No, I
scared.
mean nowadays, in modern days, these ghost
Oh.
hunters now, maybe things aren't as freaky and scary and ghostly as back then because, one, we have more cameras, but there's like these ghost investigators like investigating stuff. I don't know. I used to investigate ghosts. I still want to.
Yeah.
All right, so the occurrences lessened throughout the following days until it just finally stopped one day. After the investigations, Doris lost touch with the investigators. There was also a book written about her experiences, which is when Doris decided to isolate herself and her family from the limelight. So she's like, oh my gosh, I don't want like tabloid or paparazzi coming to my door.
They
and,
don't
like,
be
all this
known
weird-
as.
Yeah. She didn't want to put her children through that kind of publicity, I'm sure.
And it's so crazy. It just stopped one day, out of the
So
blue.
they supposedly.
Did she stop drinking?
I don't know.
Was there an
We'll see. We'll see.
exorcism?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what this says. So suffice to say, she moved her family elsewhere. Yes.
Oh yeah, finally.
Doris and her children moved to Carson, California, and within a few weeks, the poltergeist activity began occurring in their new house, as well as in both of her neighbors' homes. So her left side neighbor and her right side neighbor.
Oh, that's
Oh man.
that's so undeniable that it's following her, or her family.
But what can you do? Even if you get the whole world, even if you get CNN
I know.
to televise this live or whatever, what can you do? What's gonna?
She's got to.
Where do you go from
I
there?
don't even know.
You don't even
know.
have a normal life anymore.
No.
Sucks. I feel horrible
Well,
for her
she
and her
might
family.
need to get the church involved or something, or have
Like-
the exorcism. Or
Yeah, I don't think they mentioned she did that. That's probably
I mean, if she
the first
believes
thing I
in-
would have done.
If she believes in that Ouija board thing, you'd think that she would believe in exorcism too.
Yeah, but what? It's not an. Is it an exorcism when it's not possessing anyone? It's not inside of anybody. I think an exorcism is when you're trying to drive something, a demon out of a person.
It's
I could be
definitely
wrong.
attached
Correct
to
me
her
if I'm wrong.
somehow, but maybe it's not like taking over her soul or her person.
Yeah. Doris Bither then moved to San Bernardino and then to Texas until the day that she reached her dying breath. The entity followed her.
Wow, that's a rough situation.
That sucks.
I feel bad for
I
her.
hate that story.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I hate that happened to her. That's like, she didn't even get to live her life like happily with her children. Ugh. The entity followed her, and then Doris Bither died of pulmonary failure in 1999. That sucks.
That is a crazy story. Sorry, Doris.
Rest in peace, Doris.
Rest in peace.
Doris's story is considered one of the most compelling in the history of paranormal research and sparked what some feel is one of the best paranormal films ever made. In 1982, the horror film masterpiece The Entity was released in theaters, starring Barbara Hershey and Ron Silver. The movie was based on Doris's experience in that home that she shared with her children in Culver City. The horror film was both a critical and commercial success, and it was so scary that even director Martin Scorsese considered it one of the scariest films that he'd ever seen. Martin Scorsese, bruh.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Well,
He's big time.
knowing that there's some truth behind the story and that makes it so much more scary. I remember when I thought that Blair Witch was real. That movie was so scary to me. Or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's based on a true story. That was my scariest movie growing up.
I feel like the scariest movies are the ones with the most realistic vibes. You know what I mean? Something that can happen at your home, like paranormal, what's it called? Paranormal Activity, or what's that?
Paranormal Activity.
Yeah. It was,
That was in San Diego too.
they just used a camera. Just the a regular home video
Oh my gosh.
camera.
Yeah. So yeah, when there's some truth to it, that
It's
makes it
scarier.
it's like jokes. Jokes are like funnier when there's a little bit of truth involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like scariness, of course, same. Oh my
Because
gosh.
people can relate. When it's
People-
relatable, when you know, that person who's experiencing all these malevolent forces,
Yes.
all these you know, ghostly experiences, when they're experiencing it at their home, whichever, you know, we have a house, you know, a lot of
Yes.
people can relate to that.
Yes.
They're
yes.
experiencing it in their closet, in their bathroom, you know, day to day, in their car. It's like, oh shoot, we have a car.
Oh my
That's scary.
gosh.
You know what I mean? It's happening to a couple. Oh, we're a couple. Oh, it's happening to a family. Oh, we're a family. It's happening to a dog. Oh, we have a dog. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
I'm saying we, but like, you know
I
what I
gotcha.
mean?
I gotcha.
Yeah, I feel like the more truth in a scary movie, and not so much jump scares. I mean, jump scares are scary, yes, but for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You're just
that-
like boo like
Yeah. That's just
no, scare me,
surprising. You know, to be scared when you're surprised. of
scare me
course.
with reality. Like
Yeah.
this could happen or this has happened. Anyways, so what really happened with Doris Bither and the entity case? We don't know. The case was never completely investigated, and nearly a half century later, it's impossible to be sure of much in the case. There are a few sources with which we can piece together a reasonable guess at what happened, or at least what those involved claimed had happened over the course of several months in 1974, but sadly, we'll never know the real answer. Barry Taff came to the conclusion that Doris created a thought form every time she became emotional, and things would just happen to her. Eventually, the thought form took a life of its own and did not need her to exist. So basically, she manifested it, he's saying. What do you think about that?
Oh wow, and he's a ghost doctor.
That's a good way of explaining who he is. Ghost doctor, I like that.
I don't know. I this is beyond what I can understand.
Yeah,
And it sounds like, you know, there's so many witnesses to this though. You know, like how does she just manifest this? Or when he says she manifests it, is she creating this like experience there, or you know, or is he saying that she creates it in her mind only? But it sounds like the neighbors are feeling things that.
Well, I don't think he's saying that she created it in her mind. Well, that's where it derived from, maybe, or more so her actions and her behavior. For example, she drank a lot of alcohol, and that's when the entity would be more prominent, or it would show up more, versus when she drank less, it lessened. You know what I mean? I think he's saying that she manifested it that way. She brought it to life.
She created and brought it to life.
She
manifested it. Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's sad.
So, you know,
Anyways.
that shows like how. I mean, if that's the case, it's like it really shows how strong the mind is. You know, it
Yeah.
can, like just create that.
But also, it's about energy, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, if you have this type of energy, especially people who are sensitive to energy like that, I feel like they can feel it. You ever walk into a place and then you just have this bad vibe? It's giving off this bad vibe. Some people may describe it as, you know, just your anxiety, but I feel like it's your senses may be heightened and you're sensitive to something that happened there, or an energy force there.
Just blows my mind.
I don't know. I could talk all day about it. I'm into paranormal stuff, obviously.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, I love to try to figure it out, or like, you know, hear the stories and do the research here. But, you know, I don't know.
It's pretty, I don't know. It's so
it's
intricate.
wild.
And it's something that we can't even understand. We can't comprehend. Yeah. So this happened in LA, you guys. This is crazy. A little more information about Barry Taff. He holds a doctorate in parapsychology, and as of early 2021, he describes himself on his LinkedIn profile as foremost a brilliant, dedicated scientist and an extraordinary inventor an expert in numerous areas of science, having appeared on TV and radio, including Coast to Coast AM. I love I love Art Bell. I love George Knapp. I love all of them.
Great show.
While his associate Carrie Gaynor has a degree in philosophy and markets himself as a hypnotherapist. There are other famous cases of alleged sexual hauntings, including the Bell Witch legend of Tennessee, which tells the story of the Bell family who invoke a curse after a business deal turns sour. The family then begins experiencing strange occurrences, such as the sound of someone creeping up on the roof, noises, foul odors, apparitions, and terrible convulsions that their young daughter, Betsy Bell, experienced at night. Supposedly, the curse was placed on the family from a neighbor, but nobody really knows. But the rumor that still lingered to this day is that Betsy's father, John Bell, had been sexually assaulting his own daughter. And the spirit or entity had actually materialized out of Betsy's lost innocence. But that is just all speculation. Who knows, right? Of course, nobody knows the true answers. We're just talking heads right now, just talking about it. And that's the story of Doris Bither and the entity haunting. God, rest in peace, Doris. I'm sorry, condolences to your children, your family. It's terrible.
Yeah,
that's just
very rough situation.
My gosh. I mean, I don't know what I would do. And maybe before all this happened, she already had a drinking problem. That's actually what I want to know, if she had a drinking problem prior to this. Because if it just started when she moved in, maybe it was her that was manifesting it through her drinking. But you never know, right? That's crazy, guys. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments. Let us know in the comments below, please. This happened in LA, in Culver City. I actually drove by the house a couple times. It's really small. Like when I mentioned earlier to Freddie that it was only 1,200 square feet, it didn't even look like that to me. It's really small. If you Google her house, I'm not telling you guys to go drive by it like I did or bother the current owners. You'd see it's very, very small. Yeah, it's crazy that happened around here.
And to fit that many people and their equipment in there.
It's just rough. I feel bad for her.
And her
all right,
kids.
you guys. And her children. They missed out on so many great things. Spirit, shh. See, I love paranormal stuff so much. I named my dog Spirit. She's dirty right now. She's a dirty, dirty girl. Oh! She stinks. She smells like salt. Okay, you guys. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube. Follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. April Bay Files. And Spirit, stop. And download me on Spotify. Follow me on Spotify. Dark Side LA. So I have Dark Side LA and April Bay Files. And you could follow me on all platforms. I had a great time telling you the story. Well, I don't know. Great is the right word. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the story. Till then,
thank you.
Stay safe.
Bye for now.
Stay safe, LA.